The steam engine, transforming transportation.
The steam engine was one of the most influential inventions of the Industrial Revolution of the mid to late 19th century. It affected trade and travel. Without it, most of the American West could have never been settled. When the first deployable steam engine was invented, it was doubted, even by history's greatest thinkers.
How, sir, would you make a ship sail against the wind and current? By lighting a bonfire beneath the deck? I pray you, excuse me. I have not the time for such nonsense. Napoleon Bonaparte.
The first steam engine was patented by Thomas Savery in 1698. It was used to pump water out of coal mines. With pressurized water in a vessel 80 feet down, a pipe forced water in the mine upwards towards the surface, sort of like a vacuum.
Then, in 1712, Thomas Newcomen invented the first atmospheric engine. Building on the work of Savery, Newcomen built a more refined machine to pump water out of mines. Still, though, the engine was inefficient and needed to be improved. James Watt built the first marketable atmospheric engine to remove water from mines in 1765. He made this design efficient by adding a separate condenser. Richard Trevithick found a mine owner in Wales who denied that a steam engine could pull a 10-ton minecart for 10 miles. This contraption won, and it became the first locomotive in history.
Still, mine owners were not convinced. They figured horses were more efficient. In 1829, George Stephenson built a railway between two major cities in England, Liverpool and Manchester. Yet he finished the line long before he'd even begun to think of how to move something along it. Then, 4 locomotives took the competition to complete the course. 1 was damaged during transportation, 2 were suspended from competing due to mechanical issues. All that was left was Stephenson's rocket. Because of its cylindrical boiler, the machine was able to complete the 10-mile course in no problem, and the machine carried a passenger car with 30 people at 28 miles an hour.
Yet one of the most important uses of the locomotive was still to come.
Although covered wagons were getting people west, there was a need for improvement. All too high were the risk of disease, famine, and attacks from natives. With the gold rush in 1849 in California, the United States, now recognizing the locomotive as valid, needed to get people west safer and better. In 1862, Congress caved and passed the Pacific Railway Act, giving the Union Pacific Company power to build from west of Omaha and Central Pacific power to build east from Sacramento. The Pacific Railway Act donated $88,000 total to the cause. Then they needed cheap labor. The best way to do this was to get Chinese immigrants. Due to the Civil War, the construction was sluggish, but in 1866, the race had begun. It took years of tunneling 15 tunnels through the Sierra Nevadas and across the hot deserts. Then, on May 10, 1869, at Promontory Summit, the first of the 5 transcontinental railroads were complete. The Golden Spike, literally, was driven into the ground, which united the nation 3,500 miles by the rail line. On July 4, 1876, in celebration of the nation's centennial, a train went from New York to San Francisco in 83 hours and 39 minutes. The completion of the Great Northern Railway in January 6, 1893, meant the end to the Transcontinental Railroad. How do you think the steam engine made life easier for the people in the time of the settlement of the American West?
Steam engine enabled people and goods to travel long distances where they used to use a covered wagon. A horse would take days, that would make it down to hours.
Okay. So, would the speed of the locomotive make it harder for Native American settlers and Indians to attack the locomotives?
Yes, it would make it harder, but they would do things like put stuff on the tracks and help try to derail it. Once they derail it, it would stop and they could attack it.
Okay, so if you were packing for, say, about 100 people to go on a train down to the American West, how easy would it be to load everything up and just go?
As long as you got on a train that was going there, just pack your bags on the baggage car. The passengers will all buy tickets and they get on their particular train car and off they go.
So it wouldn't be hard at all, just throw things on and go?
Yep, go right to the station, buy a ticket, and away you go.
Okay.
Would 1800s locomotives be subject to breakdowns a lot?
Very much so. They broke down all the time. And as time went on, like a car, like a Model T, they broke down all the time. The more modern the cars were, the more reliable they were. The same with a steam locomotive.
What are some risks of taking a 19th century locomotive long distance more than 24 hours?
Some of the risks mainly would be being able to fix things as they break. They were not reliable. They were prone to breakdowns all the time, and the more you ran them, the more prone you were to breaking down and being stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Would these trains run 24/7 along the Transcontinental Railroad, or would they stop along the way?
They used to go roughly 100 miles and change engines and crews, put another engine, a fresh engine on, almost like the Pony Express. But the train itself would continue to go on once they changed the engines and the crews.
But how did the Transcontinental Railroad affect history?
If you like the San Diego Zoo, then the Transcontinental Railroad affected you. With the outbreak of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln feared that California would join the Confederacy.
So, by uniting California with the rest of the Union, Lincoln kept California from seceding and got its large amounts of minerals and goods as well.
With the Transcontinental Railroad assisting in trade and transport, the steam engine played a great role in shaping the American West. From assisting in the Civil War to helping with transportation and trade, the steam engine truly united the nation, from sea to shining sea.